Hey folks, what's up? Today I'm just going to do something really special. I have something special in store. I want to make sure for those of you who feel stuck financially, this particular session is going to blow your mind away because we're going to talk about escaping the poverty trap, the poverty programming cycle, and just in general, we're going to share some stuff that's going to be super beneficial to you. And by the end of this session, if it is a stick around, I trust that you'll be well on your way to creating and building a system for yourself that's going to generate a lot of wealth. So let's dive right in, right? So one of the things that normally affects us in our journey while we continue to build wealth or to build money is that we've been programmed in such a way that it does not suit our goals. For example, what do I mean by that? We've been consistently programmed that the way to reward us, the way to reward like ourselves is by buying liabilities, enjoying life, having a fun time. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with those things, right? But sometimes they can affect how it is that we move towards our goals. So, for example, somebody might say, "I want to achieve financial freedom," or "I want to be financially free." Right? The question now is, what does that actually mean to you? Right? And most persons don't have a definition. So if it doesn't mean anything specific to you, then how do you know what it is that you're actually working towards? So persons would say, I want to become financially free, but then they find themselves buying things that actually put them into bondage. And today we want to talk about that a little bit so that we're going to be able to break exactly out of those specific places. So one of the things that I normally talk about is the different money mindsets, the different mindsets where it is that you are in your financial cycle. And normally we talk about struggle mode, right? So we'll normally talk about struggle, right? We'll talk about survival mode or struggle mode being that one that is the starting point. So this is where it is that you're worried about your bills, you're worried about groceries in the house, you're worried about day-to-day living, paycheck to paycheck, when is your next salary coming, and that actually limits your vision. So without a vision, people perish, but it's very hard to see past your next paycheck if it is that you're counting exactly on that paycheck to be able to do specific things, right? Because those things are front of mind, right? Right above here, we have what it is that we call lifestyle mode, right? And I like to call it status mode. So we just changed up like the words a little bit. But lifestyle mode, what that means is that you're actually looking for opportunities to enjoy lifestyle. So you're not gonna choose a particular brand car. You're gonna choose a Toyota instead of a Nissan. You're gonna go to this particular restaurant instead of that one because you now have lifestyle choices because you could choose. And in fact, one of the things that actually drives lifestyle and status is actually majorly the perception of others. So if it is that you could get rid of that perception of the outside world about your life, you're going to be able to tune into a lot of sacrifice that's going to help you transform your life. So there's got to be a point in time where it is you're fed up of trying to please people and look good for people, and you just say, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buckle down and get my goal. I'm going to go through the grind and I'm going to make that sacrifice because sacrifice is definitely what's going to get you to where it is that you want to go, right? So we talk about survival and struggle. We talk about lifestyle and status. And up here is where we're going to talk about legacy and purpose, right? It's a whole different mindset, right? When somebody is trying to leave a legacy, they know not like they're no longer worried about the bills, they're no longer worried about the perception, they're now worried about what impact that they could have, or lives that they could change, or lives that they could transform, or purpose that they could fulfill, right? Now, many persons get these things mixed up. So, for example, there's some people who live in struggle mode, but they're trying to say, hey, I'm trying to fulfill my purpose and do what it is that I love. Now, doing what it is that I love may not pay the bills if it is that you don't know how to get past this particular points, right? So most persons get the lines mixed up. But what I really want to go to is that there's sacrifices that needs to be made to actually move up this ladder. And if it is that you're not willing to sacrifice on the struggle survival mode mindset, then you're never going to be able to move and transform to move straight up. And what that's going to mean is that you might have to skip a lot of lifestyle decisions that actually keep you back in struggle mode because you may not be ready for it, right? So we've been sold that anytime that we need to reward ourselves, that we need to be able to have a lifestyle choice. So we need to go out and imagine we teach your kids, you need to go and have a cake, you need to go and have an ice cream, you need to go and have a lollipop because you've done so well. And this is being programmed from the youngest age going up. So our reward mechanism now becomes an expense, or it then becomes a liability, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about now is that the fact that income follows assets, right? So I'm going to write it here. So income follows assets. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? That means that your revenue is tied to a revenue producing source, right? So what we're going to do here is we're just going to do some basic balance sheet and an income statement to just show you exactly how this would work, right? So for example, let me just draw it here really quickly. So what we have here, we have what is an asset, and on this side we have what is a liability. Right? Yeah, I think I spelled that right. Right? So the asset here, the first asset that you have is you. Right? Now where does this come in? So I'm just gonna draw another one here. I'm going to draw another one here so that you get to see this. So here, we're going to have expenses. And here we're going to have income. All right, so just neatening up these drawings here so that you see everything really nicely, right? So check out what's happening here. Because you are the asset here, what it is that you receive from your job or from your business, you receive income, or from your job, you would receive a salary, right? Now, you are an asset here, but technically, you also have needs, right? So I'm going to put you on the liability side here as well, right? You know why? Because you want to go by the gym, you want to go and do your nails, you want to go take a haircut, you want to go by the beach, right? So because of this now, you have what we call lifestyle expenses, right? So we're just going to put that in here. So you're going to have some lifestyle expenses, right? And I just don't want to go and list all because I don't have much room here, but you're going to have your Pennywise bill, you're going to have your shopping expense, you're going to have whatever treats and so on. And it's going to actually give you some lines coming down here, right? But the only thing is that you are the one that generates the salary, right? And what you do with the salary now is that you spend it onto expenses. Now, we've been constantly programmed that to reward ourselves for this, we either spend here. So what we come and we do is we come and we buy a car, right? And we just spoke about income follows assets. So that actually means expenses follow liabilities. So let me show you how that works. You go and you get a car, right? And the car now, it needs to get gas, needs to get tires, right? It needs to get insurance, needs to get maintenance, right? And there's a whole lot of stuff that the car now needs. Now, we haven't reinvested here to actually increase the salary here, right? But what it is that we're being programmed to do is, as my salary is good or I am successful doing something here, I either reward myself by spending on this side or I buy a liability, which now makes me spend on this side. So this is what exactly I call as the poverty programming trap, right? Because nobody is teaching you how to reward yourself by actually creating assets on the side, right? So how can you do it? So the first thing that you could do is you could begin to reinvest in you, right? So there's a lot of courses that you could look at. So you could take a course, you could read a book, you could reinvest in yourself so that you could now begin to make increases to your salary or increases to your income. So understanding some more business is going to present you, let's just say you could have a side hustle as an asset, and that side hustle is what's going to generate some extra dollars for you on the side. That's one. Now, you could look at something like stocks as well, right? And stocks are going to pay you some dividend income. You could look at something like real estate rental, and that's going to pay you some rental income. So, how do we begin to reprogram our minds to be able to escape this poverty trap? First of all, you need to change up your reward system. So, first off, instead of buying like a liability or just spending money, create a more complex system, I want to say, right? So what you could do is when your salary comes in, the first thing that you reinvest in is you and your assets, and then you use those to begin to fund more income here, which could nullify the liabilities as well as the lifestyle like expenses. Case in point, now this is not a promotion to buy any stock or any shares on the stock market, but there's companies that would have product in the groceries that you normally buy every month, but yet you don't own the stock. So you can't get dividend revenue from it, right? Similarly, there's like Prestige Holdings. Sometimes you go and you buy a KFC, but you didn't reward yourself by buying some of the stock before you buy the KFC, right? And if it is that you buy the stock, it now becomes a lifetime, how to say it, a lifetime transaction versus a one-time transaction, right? You buy the box of food, you eat it, it's done. That's a one-time transaction. If I buy the stock, I have a lifetime transaction where I'm going to be able to get dividends for a lifetime as long as I have the stock. Now, that's a much better relationship. So, just a little thing that I do, I would buy the stock. And when the dividend comes, I'm excited. And it makes me feel even better about spending some of this dividend money onto this particular um, business and expense. And you know what that makes me feel like? I'm supporting the same stock that I already have. So it gives me that positive like relationship with what it is that I'm doing. So my reward system now is that if it is that I want to do something, I'm going to look for the asset first. I'm going to look for the stock that I could support first, and then I'm going to use it to fund whatever else that I want. So for example, you want to buy a car. Nothing wrong with buying a car, you need a car, but there's plenty stocks on the stock market that actually sell cars, right? And they've been selling cars for some years, well, decades in fact, right? So you could buy one of those stocks, let it reap some dividends, where the dividends now become a contribution towards that car, right? Now, this is going to take some process, but the point is that you want to be able to position yourself to begin rewiring your mind to put your reward system as the assets because the income follows the assets and expenses follow those like liabilities that we take. So what do we want to do is we want to up on the assets that could continue to produce a lifetime of revenue for us, and we don't want to be the persons who are just taking and not being able to reinvest in ourselves. Now, by the way, if it is that you're doing this at home for yourself, I would actually recommend that you draw this out for yourself and you actually list everything that you do right now. And if it is that you're willing to make that sacrifice, you're going to begin to see things clear as day, how you reward yourself and how you currently spend so that you can begin to make the changes. Just know that if it is that you double income household, or you have multiple persons, you can put them in here as well. So you could well put in your spouse here as well, right? And hopefully your spouse is on like the asset column and not on the liability column, right? So you need to check for that too, right? But this here is a really nice framework of how it is that you could begin to rewire yourself and escape the poverty trap, so that you're not gonna go for every deal and every society pressure that's going to propel you to say, hey, go and enjoy life, go and spend on a liability, go and reward yourself. Because what you realize is that dream of financial freedom is going to be getting further and further away from you, just because of the fact that everybody's into the short term syndrome of reward and recognition and pleasure, right? Now, if it is that you're able to make a better sacrifice, then you can build up your asset column and begin reaping more and more income, which is going to augur well for you, that you could have the better lifestyle that you want, and that you could now move from struggle mode into lifestyle mode into legacy mode. And I would say, if you can, you could totally skip that lifestyle mode if it is that you can not care about what others think. Sometimes you just need to grind like a high school dropout. Stay blessed, and we'll definitely see you for our next segment.